Hello friends, hello professionals, and welcome back to my channel, The Sea of Regulation. For those that have subscribed, thank you. I'm seeing the numbers going up pretty quickly and I'm impressed with that. Hopefully you're impressed with me. So today's video is going to touch on the basics, a new series that I've introduced to help people understand financial services who may not necessarily be in this space. And if you're in this space, some of these things might be a good refresher. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about who is a Money Laundering Reporting Officer, or MLRO. But before I jump in, let me get my usual disclaimers out of the way. I am a financial services regulator. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a professional advisor. And the views on this channel are all my own and do not reflect the views of a regulatory authority or international standard setter. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. So today's topic is who is an MLRO, a Money Laundering Reporting Officer. Now in a few videos ago, I touched on regulated persons. And this particular post, the person that is in this particular capacity, is typically an approved person or regulated person in a number of jurisdictions, but not in all cases. And I personally think that will change. Now let's get into who they are and what they do. A Money Laundering Reporting Officer is the person to whom you report suspicious activity and suspicious transactions. Now, there's going to be a part 2 to this video dealing with what is a suspicious activity report and what is a suspicious transaction report. But let's focus on the person that's handling the con. A Money Laundering Reporting Officer is that individual who within a firm is responsible for receiving suspicious activity reports and suspicious transaction reports. They're also responsible for investigating those matters that are raised to them by staff and then taking action on them. And what action do they take? Well, the MLRO reports to the Financial Investigation Unit in their country. And so part of their work is to provide information in relation to suspicious transactions and suspicious activities to the Financial Intelligence Unit in that jurisdiction. Now, you might be wondering, well, how do they report to someone that's not their employer? And it's basically one of the things that is enshrined in anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing laws, that you have someone that addresses the suspicious activities within a firm, and the firm can be a financial services firm, it could be a non-profit organization, it can be a jeweler, it can be a real estate agent. Trust and corporate services providers in many parts of the world where they're regulated, they're required to have them. It could be in a casino. And there are a number of other organizations that are in the traditional financial services market that definitely need an MLRO. Now, the work of an MLRO is sometimes given to the person who is also the compliance officer. And if you've missed my video on who is a compliance officer, I'll definitely leave it in the description below. Now, is that the right thing to do? For smaller firms, you may be able to do that. Have one person act as the compliance officer and the money laundering reporting officer. But in many cases, it's important for that role to be held by two different people. And why is that? Well, you want to make sure that the persons, plural, let's make sure that we have two people there, have enough resources to do the job. If it's a small organization with small revenue or small activities, then maybe one person can do the job. But it's important for there to be some sort of clarification in terms of what is expected of an MLRO. Now, in larger organizations, one of the things that regulators will go in and test when we do interviews with employees is to see whether they know who they should raise a suspicious activity report with or suspicious transaction report. And in a lot of organizations, the regular staff sometimes may not know who that person is. And that could be a problem. Actually, that is a problem, because if a regulator comes in and finds out that you as a customer service rep or even the receptionist are not familiar with who that is, then it doesn't end well for you in relation to the inspection. Now, you're thinking, suspicious transactions, suspicious activities, why do you need a designated person for that? Because you need to have someone who is not client-facing. So you can't have the same person or persons who's responsible for client engagement and who may be engaged with other principals within the firm in towards making revenue have that particular set of responsibility. That person needs to have a certain amount of independence in their function to make sure that they're not compromised or that there are no conflicts of interest. And the Money Laundering Reporting Officer is also required to maintain certain reports. So they have to maintain a report of activities and transactions that are suspicious that have been raised to them, even if no action is taken. And in some organizations, they call this an unusual transactions log. But it also works the other way around. A financial intelligence unit may ask for information from that firm in relation to one of their clients. And who typically gets that request that they have to answer? It would be the Money Laundering Reporting Officer. And for smaller firms, again, there may be not that much activity. For larger firms, especially those with an international footprint or international client reach, then you can see how that particular set of activity could be a bit more than you expect. The registers that they have to maintain also have certain minimum requirements that are typically in AML CFT legislation within the jurisdiction that's relevant to you. So if you are thinking about maybe exploring this space of compliance and what careers may be available to you, an MLRO is definitely one of them. Would I be an MLRO? I think that it requires a lot of work. And in some firms, some compliance officers may get offended, but in some firms, I think the MLRO has more work to do than the compliance officer. But if you're a compliance officer and you have a different view, definitely drop it in the comments below. And like I said, I'm going to touch on suspicious activity reports and suspicious transaction reports in a part 2 to this video. Now, if you found this helpful or if you want to know more information, I'll definitely drop it in the comments below. But you know, do the YouTube thing because it helps the algorithm. Like the video if you found it helpful. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that every time I drop a video, you get that notification and you're in the know. And share with at least 5 of your friends if you found this helpful. And until I get to the next video, I'll see you next time.